News 5 continues with Jerry Springer, Norma Rashid, Pat Berry's weather. Steve Physiak has sports.
Good evening. We could be on the brink of another real estate boom in Ohio. A boom sparked this time by $25 million in tax breaks. However, News 5's Judy Alsobrooks tells us tonight, if you want to cash in on this, better get in line.
The long lines in August of 1984, when hundreds of people were trying to capitalize on low-interest bonds to buy homes, may soon return to Cincinnati. That's because next week, about 300 people will try to cash in on a new housing finance program, one called Ohio Mortgage. It will provide qualifying homebuyers with mortgage credit certificates that will allow tremendous tax savings.
Mortgage credit certificates actually allow the home buyer to take a tax credit in addition to the tax deductions that they already take on their monthly interest payments.
To explain how it works, let's take a look at a home buyer who earns $25,000 a year with a monthly mortgage payment of $500. Under the traditional system, the buyer would be paying $2,850 a year in federal taxes. But with the new mortgage credit certificates, federal taxes would be cut to $1,830, a savings of over $1,000. One of the best aspects about this program is that when you buy your home, the mortgage credit certificates can be used with FHA, VA, or conventional mortgage loans. Now, of course, there are some guidelines to all of this. For example, if you want to buy a home in Hamilton, Claremont, and Warren counties in a targeted area, and the mortgage lender can tell you what areas fall in this category, you can't earn more than $40,880 a year. Buyers in non-targeted areas must be first-time home buyers and not earn more than $33,580. Now, these credit certificates couldn't come at a better time for people who have been wanting to buy a home. That's because not only will they be saving on taxes, but interest rates as well. They just fell below 9%, the lowest they've been in 8 years. Judy Alsobrooks, News 5.
Now, mortgage credit certificates will be issued to qualifying borrowers next Thursday on a first-come, first-served basis. For more information, you should call your mortgage lender. Norma.
Sure, a family in Millvale tonight has lost their home to fire. The flames started on Millvale Circle this afternoon. Fortunately, a mother and her 7 children who lived in the house all made it out safely. Now, firefighters still aren't sure how the fire got started, and they estimate the damage at about $10,000. A Cincinnati man was considering himself lucky tonight after he narrowly missed being hit by a car on the Clay Wade Bailey Bridge. David Marcus told us he was trying to fix a flat tire when he looked up and suddenly saw another car heading straight for him on that bridge.
At the time that I got out to go in my trunk to get my jack out, I had my flashers on and he came across the bridge and he wouldn't stop. So I jumped back against the wall and then hit the back of my car.
Covington police later arrested 23-year-old Robert Dungeon, who is now charged with driving under the influence.
Now, you may have heard the old saying that bad luck comes in threes. Well, tonight at Cincinnati's University Hospital, they'd like to take exception with that. You see, as News 5's Lauren Chesley points out, in the past 24 hours, they've had 3 major transplants and 3 amazing successes.
Today is Dave Braden's 61st birthday, and he got the best present of all, a chance at a new life. He became University Hospital's 33rd recipient of a new heart. Right now, he's in critical but stable condition. But his daughter Regina told me he's been on the donor list for 3 months, and the worst is behind them.
Oh, yes. Yes, real confident. He seems to be doing real well. With the doctors say he is doing real well for where he's at in it now.
What makes Dave Braden's heart surgery so unique is that his heart was donated by a 19-year-old Mobile, Alabama man who donated not only his heart, but his liver as well. Incredibly, both organs were used in simultaneous operations at Cincinnati's University Hospital. 34-year-old Randy Carnes has been sick with liver disease since last August. He and his family have been waiting for news of a donor. It came last night.
It's all good from here. No more pain. No more pain.
Been too much pain.
He's been in pain, unrelenting, unremitting, 24 hours a day since last August, and it's been very difficult for all of us.
There's a 70% chance that of survival at 1 year, and if so, that we feel that he can lead a normal and productive life. But
amazingly, that wasn't the end for the transplant teams at University Hospital. A kidney from a different donor was transplanted into 39-year-old Gary Atkins. He is in good condition. But the 3 transplants have hurt the already diminishing supply of blood at the Hawksworth Blood Center.
It's a critical time. We're down 23% below our desired level, to protect the community overall, and we're down 32% in our O's. So, we're really in trouble.
But despite this temporary blood shortage, which will hopefully be a short one, the hospital says it feels lucky to have been able to save 3 lives last night. Lauren Chesley, News 5.
Now, if you're interested in helping out with this blood shortage, Hawksworth says it needs all types of blood, and you can call them at 569-1175. It could help save a life.
Let's hope they get a lot of recipients there, people coming in and doing that. Still ahead, we'll tell you what the owners of the Fernald plant are saying in response to the watchdog groups report blasting the plant.
Plus, you're the one who benefits from a new round of airfare wars, or are you? These stories are next.
Within the next few months, 8 sirens at the Fernald uranium plant will warn the surrounding community of potential disaster. The first siren was tested and is operational tonight. The 7 other sirens will be installed within a 2-mile radius of the plant. The sirens are an early warning system designed to alert nearby residents in case of a dangerous chemical leak. Today's test comes one day after a new round of criticism directed at the company which operates Fernald. News 5's Steve Forrest reports the criticism was contained in a report, the contents of which were revealed exclusively by News 5.
The report itself breaks little new ground, but it does contain the strongest criticism to date of the company which is now running the Fernald plant. Specifically, it cites the release of radioactive gas from these storage tanks last April and says the way it was handled raises, quote, serious questions about the new contractor's credibility. And the report's author told News 5, unless Westinghouse does better, again quoting, we ought not to be putting our trust and faith in them.
That's what it boils down to, a matter of trust. Westinghouse has tried to portray itself as kind of the good guy, coming in here, cleaning up the mess left behind by the bad guy, NLO, which used to run Fernald. And a company spokesman said today the GAP report can only hurt that image.
A woman who lives near the plant gives Westinghouse generally good marks, with one big exception.
We do give Westinghouse credit, Fresh does, and I do too. And I feel like I have a little trust there with them. Now, the kindness incident with the K-65 tanks was upsetting, to say the least.
That incident happened last April. Radioactive radon gas was improperly vented from these silos for almost 4 hours. At the same time, former Congressman Tom Kindness was touring Fernald and being assured of its safety.
We made a mistake in the venting of the silos. That was a mistake. We should not have done that. We've learned a lot from that about work procedures and work permits and that sort of thing.
But Kelly makes no apology for the way Westinghouse handled the incident, despite a Department of Energy investigation which concluded the company tried to conceal information.
Hopefully they've learned a lesson, from that.
Do you really think they have learned a lesson, though?
Time will tell. I mean, I can't say if they have or not, but hopefully they have.
Westinghouse says yes, it has, with the DOE report and yesterday's study only making the company more determined to run a clean operation. Steve Forrest, News 5.
The report also says cracks were first detected in the storage silos 30 years ago, even while they were being built.
Well, the company that owns Hanna-Barbera Productions and a portion of Kings Island is considering selling out. Taft Broacasting Company says it's evaluating its entertainment group with an eye toward possibly selling all or part of the division. The review is being done because of the company's increased focus on their media interests. Well, saving money on airfares has not always been easy, but although discount airlines like People Express are disappearing, discount fares are not. This weekend, People Express will become part of Continental Airlines. And Call 5 reporter Noel Morgan shows us what to watch for as Continental launches the latest airfare war.
The prices in last week's Iceland Airlines ad seemed tailor-made for Mark Meister's plans for a June vacation until he tried to make reservations.
She said, no, I'm sorry, it's only good until March the 15th.
But he pointed out the ad said the $358 ticket was a no-restriction fare.
I said, there was no mention of dates or time frames in your advertisement. And then they replied that you know what advertisements are really used for.
Now, the fact is, airlines have a notoriously bad habit of screaming about their great fares and then dropping to a whisper or silence when it comes to all the strings that are attached. And now that Continental's kicked off a new fare war, you can be sure we'll see more of the same.
These fares will undercut the so-called super savers by up to 40%. Max Saver fares will beat the regular coach fares of other major airlines by more than 80%.
The Max Saver's simple. Just buy your round-trip ticket 2 days early, stay over a Saturday night, and go before May 20th. As the ad says, that's it. Oops, not quite. Read on. You see, the prices aren't for every seat. It's no good for a long weekend because it costs more to fly on Friday and Sunday, and of course all fares are subject to change. Oh yes, the fares. Multiply all the numbers you see by 2 because those fares are one way, but the tickets are round trip. So as a competition rushes to match Continental's lead, sit back and enjoy the many creative ways ad agencies will try to disguise the same package.
Now, if you couldn't get through to Continental today, don't worry, the fun has just started. So far, American, Delta, United, and U.S. Air have all said they'll match Continental fare for fare. Are there any regulations in putting all those limitations and disclaimers in an ad? Well, like in Ohio, we've got rules that say all exclusions, limitations have to be clearly and conspicuously disclosed. We've got a good law on the books, but nobody really pays much attention to it, so the best you can do is make sure you know what you're getting before you call in for those reservations. Okay. I'll let you know before I fly someplace. Okay, thanks, Noel. If you'd like any more information on all this or have any other consumer question, call 5 at 721-FIVE. They're open now till 7:30 and back open Monday beginning at 11 in the morning.
Up next, sun and clouds, rain and snow. Take your pick.
Pat Berry says we're in for it all over the weekend. His forecast is next. Pat's warning us of windy, huh?
Yeah, it's windy out there. We've got some flurries, and I think that some people have been calling in. I think the wind is making those flurries look a little more ominous than what they actually are. But it's starting to stick on the ground. There could be a problem with some slippery roads tonight, so be careful.
Always drive carefully.
But just like I mentioned before, we're going to have one of everything. Some sun, some clouds, some snow, some rain, all that in the next 3 days.
It's a shame we just can't pick one and take our pick, but that's okay.
You keep wanting to control things you have no control over. Nothing we can do. Let's go take a look at this guy who, I don't know if he had the right idea or not. He's washing his car in Covington there at the car wash, and great idea trying to get some of that salt that they put down last week on it. Let's get to our record page. Our high today, 42. It happened shortly after midnight last night. Our record was 68. That happened back in 1916. Our low, 34 degrees. The record was minus 12 back in 1966. We had just a trace of snow. It's coming down right now. Let's get right to it. Our current temperature, 32 degrees. It's dropped 2 in the last hour. Humidity is 85%, but look at these winds out of the northwest. They're at 20 miles an hour. We have gusts up to 25. You combine those gusts with our temperature, you come up with a wind chill of 3. Although it's 32, you're really going to bundle up because you can get cold out there very quickly with a wind chill of 3. Here's our satellite picture. You can see the clouds all over the tri-state. We'll get a break from these probably tomorrow afternoon. That'll be great news. Here's why we're getting snow flurries in our area right now. It's this low pressure system that's up in northern New York. You see it right here with the counterclockwise winds causing some actual snow accumulation, blowing snow right now in Fort Wayne, across through in Toledo and in Cleveland, and we're getting just that bottom residue from it. Just a few flurries, cold temperatures too. For tomorrow, the high pressure system moves in. It will try and warm us up a little bit. We'll get up to about 38 degrees, clouds in the morning, then a little bit of sunshine late in the day. Then for Sunday, it looks like clouds in the morning, then late in the day on Sunday, it looks like this rain will move in. And that looks like the period for the next couple of days, and warmer temperatures. If anything is good out of this, we're going to get back into the 40s. Won't that be great? Here's our forecast then, the way it reads out for tonight. Cloudy with flurries, a low down to 26 degrees. I don't expect major accumulation from the flurries, but it could make some of the roads slippery, so be careful. For tomorrow, cloudy morning, some afternoon sun, and a high at 38. The extended forecast looks like this. Partly cloudy skies by tomorrow afternoon. Clouds for Sunday, rain late in the day. Then on Monday, we're talking about some rain lingering. And our temperatures, 38 for tomorrow, 42 for Sunday, not too bad before the rain moves in, and 41 on Monday. Above normal temperatures. Of course, we've had a cold couple of weeks. With the low temperature was kind of cold over last weekend, but the high temperature has been in the teens for a couple of weeks. So.
And now we're back to warm stuff. We just have to deal with the March winds.
Yes, well, yeah, sort of like March winds, but I have some more of this weather poetry for you.
You're getting into this poem stuff, aren't you?
Drop a penny in the lake, and it will bring a wind. When hogs are restless, make loud noises, move their heads in spasmodic ways, it's a sign of high winds. I really didn't go by a farm today and see any pigs, but
nothing in there rhymed either.
A lot of folklore has to do with animals and farmers in there. Well, poetry doesn't have to rhyme.
It's kind of like, yeah.
No, it doesn't have to be roses are red, violets are blue, it's going to snow on you. No, it doesn't have to be like that, no.
I like that one, though.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Pat.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Pat. We've now been told, looks like it's going to be cold. Just ahead, a Northern Kentucky man may be up for a White House job, and in sports, nearly $1 million a year. That's the offer on the table to get the winning Super Bowl coach to change teams. That's coming up next.
Our area may have some more influence in Washington. A Newport native will soon be serving as a White House advisor. Gary Bauer was selected today as the president's assistant for policy development. This office is responsible for devising Reagan's new domestic programs. Bauer will be advising the president on education, housing, welfare, labor, and transportation. He says that this will give him a chance to broaden his influence. Previously, Bauer was U.S. Undersecretary of Education. Congratulations.
Congratulations and good luck. And now we are talking about, congratulations, of course, to UC last night.
That's right.
And to Xavier. Just a great basketball game that was everything we thought it'd be.
That's true. And more.
More.
Sounds like a commercial, doesn't it? Yeah. Let's talk about it. Sportscasters pontificate, sports writers speculate, but very seldom does a big game live up to its advance billing. And even more seldom do the big stars in that big game perform really big feats. But last night's UCXU game lived up to its big billing in both those departments. And the fans really exceeded expectations, flocking to the Coliseum, painting their faces, screaming their heads off. For plays like this from big gun Byron Larkin. He scored 24 for the Muskies. His opposite number on the Bearcats, Roger McClendon, pumped in 29. The two stars putting on an exhibition that enhanced the play of their teammates and inspired the assembled crowd last night at Riverfront Coliseum.
I think it was a great game for the city, a great game for both schools, for both fans, and hopefully we can, get more people out to root for Cincinnati and Xavier when we play at home, because we need the fans there.
This game tonight, I think, is a wonderful thing for the city of Cincinnati and for the for the people of Cincinnati. Win, lose, or draw was a great special event, and it played out with all the drama that it's supposed to in a situation like this.
And here's that drama. Only seconds remain. Joe Siffin shoots and scores at the buzzer. UC over XU by 2, 75-73. Good tackle, like football. The joy of UC fans today is exceeded only by the outrage and disappointment felt by UK fans. Kentucky could not withstand a rebel attack last night at Ole Miss. Here it comes from Oxford. We show you Rex Chapman. He scored 23 to lead UK. This three-pointer gave the Cats a 1-point lead early in the second half, but midway through that period, Joe Ayers with a rainbow jumper puts the Rebels up by 1. Ole Miss never trailed from that point. Here's Ayers again on the steal and stuff. Ole Miss wins it 76-65. Now to pro football and high finance. What would you say to an offer of $900,000 a year for the next 5 years? Well, the Atlanta Falcons want to put that question to Giants coach Bill Parcells, but the Giants won't give the Falcons permission to approach the coach. For his part, Parcells calls the reports, quoting here, a bunch of bull. In baseball, a bunch of money is headed for the pocket of Wade Boggs. He signed a new 3-year deal with the Red Sox yesterday, worth more than $5 million. Boggs hit for a .357 average last season and has won the AL batting crown 3 times. Good glove there, too. Some signings also reported today here in Cincinnati. The Reds came to terms with 5 members of their kitty corps. 5 young players added to this year's 40-man roster. The group includes pitchers Norm Charlton, Jeff Gray, and Bill Landrum, along with catcher Terry McGriff and infielder Jeff Treadway. All those gentlemen got 1-year deals. A deal struck today between the Cubs and A's, a trade sending Ron Cey to Oakland in exchange for utility infielder Luis Quinones. Quinones spent last season with the San Francisco Giants before moving to the Bay, and now he's headed for Wrigley Field. Some contract trouble for Met slugger Darryl Strawberry. It has nothing to do with his playing deal. Instead, it involves the social contract we call marriage. Lisa Strawberry filed for legal separation yesterday, saying her husband battered her and stole her purse last Sunday. Well, let's go to golf and a happier story. The Pebble Beach Pro-Am continues with some very popular, if less than perfect players. I refer to Channel 5's very own Johnny Bench. Here near the green on 14, Johnny looking to put this one near the pin, but a little bit too much home run power. Ball ends up on the other side of the green. Still Bench and his partner, Bill Glasson, playing good golf out at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. And the finals in the America's Cup competition begin at midnight. We hope to talk more about that. It is going to be very interesting as the Stars and Stripes takes on Kookaburra 3. So that's something to look forward to. Oh, I'll tell you right here. Bryant Gumbel and Dolly Parton met on today, and they named a Stars and Stripes sail after Dolly.
Well, I was complimented. I mean, it's like if anything I can do to help, anything I can do to help. I told them not to toss the sail out because I need a good halter top when the race is over.
They gave us their reasons for calling it Dolly. Why do you think they called it Dolly?
Well, it is America's Cup, ain't it?
Not a bad idea.
There you have it from Dolly Parton and Bryant Gumbel this morning on Today. We just had to get that in for you.
Yeah, well, I'll leave that alone.
Yeah,
Norma?
good idea. We'll be back to wrap things up after this. What led local police investigators to a major drug operation in our area? You'll find out on News 5 tonight at 11.
Also tonight, what's the best-selling beer in the country? You might be surprised. And the Queen City welcomes a rock and roll star that's beginning to shine in other areas too. JD?
Jerry, plenty of prep basketball shining in our area. We'll have the highlights for you tonight at 11. Pat?
Well, some of these flurries will give us a little bit of a dusting. Could make it slippery in some isolated spots. Be careful out there. Some sunshine by tomorrow afternoon. Norma, Jerry?
That's good news. That's all the time we have to be with you. Thank you for being with us.
We'll be back tonight at 11. Until then, take care of yourself and each other. Good night.
Good night.
Good evening, I'm Jerry Springer.
And I'm Norma Rashid. Coming up next on News 5 at 5:30, the sounds of warning sirens can soon be heard in the community surrounding the Fernald plant. We'll explain their purpose. Also, the friendly skies are again a war zone as another airfares war heats up, one you could win.
Plus, we'll show you how the state of Ohio is trying to make buying a home easier. We'll have these stories, sports, and the weekend forecast, all coming your way next on News 5 at 5:30. Please join us.
News 5 with Jerry Springer, Norma Rashid, Pat Berry's weather, Steve Fiziak has sports. Now, Cincinnati's News 5 at 5:30.
Good evening. It is the threat of a major catastrophe at the Fernald plant, which has caused people living near the plant to insist they be warned if a problem ever develops. Well, today, the first piece of that warning system was tested for the first time. But News 5's Steve Forrest reports there's already concern that the system may be good as a public relations tool, but not much else.
That's how the test sounded right at noon. It came from a newly installed siren at the Fernald plant, designed as an early warning system for nearby residents. 8 sirens are planned in all. This is the only one working so far. And these are the 7 other sirens. They're due to be installed over the next couple of months. 4 in Hamilton County, 3 in Butler County, all within a 2-mile radius of the plant. But there's some concern among local residents that even after the sirens are installed, in case of an actual emergency, the sirens might not be enough. One says there might not be enough time to, as she puts it, get the hell out.
They say there is. Now, that's another question.
Do you believe them?
No, I can't right now, not at this point in time. I still have a lot of questions about, whether there would be enough time.
For example, Crawford's worried the sirens wouldn't do any good if the tops of these storage silos collapsed. They're filled with tons of radioactive waste, and a recent report says they could collapse even after a heavy snowfall. Fernald management, though, says the system is the best it can get, saying it'll be activated if there's an emergency. What would you define as an emergency?
If we had a leaking chemical tank of ammonia, for instance, and the wind was blowing toward Ross,
What about a collapse of the dome, say, the silos?
Well, we don't want to speculate about what might happen. We just want to be prepared for what might happen.
Meanwhile, at a trailer park half a mile from the plant, Heyman Napier heard nothing this morning. Did you hear the sirens this morning?
No, I didn't hear them this morning.
Were you listening for them?
Yeah, I tried to listen for them, but I didn't hear them. I guess because I had the doors shut and everything.
Now, I'm told that when the other sirens are installed, it should be easier to hear them. But I was told the best way to hear the sirens today was if I stood downwind, which leaves wide open the question of what happens when you're upwind. How do you hear the sirens if they sound?
Well, they sound a little bit more like chimes than they do a siren. Is it really going to scare anybody?
It's not meant to scare anybody as such, but they're going to change them when they actually implement the system. They're going to sound more like a set of tones in descending order, but they're going to sound different than the standard civil defense sirens for specifically that purpose. They want them to sound different.
So they know the difference.
Exactly.
All right, thank you, Steve. Jerry?
Well, a man who says he's been a chain smoker since he was 13 tonight is waiting to find out if a court will give him the decision he wants. Floyd Royston is suing R.J. Reynolds, claiming it was cigarette smoking that led to having his leg amputated. A panel of 3 federal judges has heard all the testimony in the case. The decision could take more than a year. Well, a decision that would eliminate $200 million from the nation's drug and alcohol education programs is worrying some local citizens tonight. CASA, or Citizens Against Substance Abuse, met today to discuss a government proposal that would cut dollars from local anti-drug and alcohol programs that would be lost without the money.
There's no way that we can raise the amount of money needed for law enforcement in particular, or even help the schools in the way they need to be helped.
The group is urging everyone to send letters to their congressman in hopes of keeping the funding alive. Well, in northern Kentucky, a Boone County farmer charged with running a marijuana factory is headed for court today.
Let's go right to Clyde Gray on our Northern Kentucky Bureau for the details. Clyde?
Well, Norma, the man accused of growing marijuana on his Boone County farm last September was back in court today. Police raided John Bayer's farm and charged him and his wife with running a marijuana factory. This morning, Boone County Circuit Judge Sam Neese sentenced Bayer to 5 years in prison but let him off on probation. Bayer was also ordered to contribute $200 to the sheriff's fund. Bayer's wife, Jean, had been sentenced previously. Well, it's off to the Far East next week for Governor Martha Lane Collins. The governor will leave Monday morning for Korea and a meeting with Korean President Chun Doo-hwan. Then she'll travel to Taiwan to meet with officials there. A number of cabinet secretaries will go along with her on that trip. The obvious reason for the governor's trip is to establish business ties with countries whose American investments are growing. But the governor has not confined her business interests to the Far East. Toyota, Clarion, Mazak, all foreign companies investing in northern Kentucky, all Japanese-owned. By now, foreign investment in Kentucky has a distinctly Oriental flavor. It is, however, not the whole story. Not as visible, but just as important are firms with names like Betts Packaging, Van Melle, Kraus Maffei, firms of European origin that are flocking to northern Kentucky.
Yes, we are aggressive. And yes, we're trying to bring in new industry and new business all the time.
In Covington Tuesday night, Governor Martha Lane Collins told 300 people at the Act for Covington banquet that her plan was to open an economic development office in London this year, similar to one in Japan, and for similar reasons, to lure foreign plants, their jobs, and tax money to Kentucky. Foreign companies, battered by a weakening American dollar and the resulting loss of business, will certainly be interested.
It'll benefit the entire state, but also northern Kentucky. We're going to benefit it just like the rest of the state. And it's an opportunity to interest European investors in this country.
The governor's efforts will be in behalf of the whole state, but local business leaders predict much of the direct benefit will be to northern Kentucky. They are actively selling the region's many industrial benefits.
The kind of a labor force we have, how skilled it is, what land and buildings we have available, and also the fact that we're located on I-71, I-75, these type of things.
Now, just an indication of how important foreign investments are to Kentucky, Governor Collins will return to Japan in mid-February and will go to London sometime after that. Jerry?
I guess that makes it pretty important, the proposed Delta flight from Cincinnati to London that they're talking about.
Jerry, you bet. Almost without fail, everyone that we've talked with about economic development in northern Kentucky points to the need for that Japan to London, or that Cincinnati to London direct flight. And Tuesday night when she was in Covington, Governor Collins also let it slip that she'd like to see people be able to fly from the greater Cincinnati airport to Tokyo nonstop.
Well, okay, we hope we get that development. Thank you. That is Clyde Gray, Bureau Chief, reporting from the Northern Kentucky Bureau.
The city of Cincinnati has now begun its fight for development funds for the Queensgate 2 project. The project calls for the building of low and middle income housing in Queensgate, as well as room for business space and parking. The city is now actively lobbying federal and state officials to get money for the project, but it will be at least March before any decision about those grants is made.
And just ahead, we'll update you on the whereabouts of church envoy Terry Waite. Has he too become a hostage?
Plus, Pat Berry joins us with a word of a flurry or two. His forecast is next.